That's pretty sad and kind of, I don't know, pathetic. Or it makes me feel pathetic. And these are things that didn't have to happen. Hi, it's Nani, and welcome to the Chronicles of Nani. You see the smile, which is pretty normal for me, because I tend to smile a lot. You might not see me smile so much during today's topic, because it's not one that I think is very happy, but I think it's one that's necessary to talk about. It is my opinion, and 9 years after diagnosis, it is my absolute opinion that whenever you are diagnosed with a chronic or even terminal condition, that you should automatically be assigned a social worker or caseworker that will sit down and talk with you. Because when you're diagnosed with a chronic illness, something that's going to last the rest of your life, or worse, a terminal illness that's going to shorten the rest of your life, the things going through your mind are not necessarily the things that you are ultimately going to really need to be going through your mind, because you're thinking about, I know when I was diagnosed and I was told I have MS, that, okay, I have an illness that's going to change the rest of my life, and it's never going to go away. And it's not an illness that's going to shorten my life. The illness itself is not going to shorten my life, but it's going to make my life incredibly different. And I had to deal with emotionally, how did I feel about that? And I was also thinking about my friends and family. How are they going to react to me? Are they going to treat me different? Are they going to be okay with it? Am I going to be living the rest of my life with everyone I love feeling sorry for me? I don't want to live the rest of my life with everyone just looking at me and feeling pity. And these are the things that I was worried about so much when I was diagnosed. How are these things going to change me as I'm reading about the illness and learning about it? Because I will be honest with you, when I was diagnosed, I had no idea what MS was. When I was first had my MRI, because I was having problems even standing. If I was standing and washing dishes, I actually had one point where my back totally gave out and I folded over and almost fell while doing dishes in the kitchen. And I had an MRI to check out and find out that I had discs in my back, 3 different discs in my back that were somewhere between severely injured and totally herniated. So much so that my doctor at the time, who told me the absolute last thing that we look at is surgery. We try therapy and whatever we can do to fix things. When he got the results of the MRI back, and I went to see him after the results came in, he immediately told me that I'm going to refer you to a surgeon to get those discs taken care of, because the discs were so bad, and that was the reason why everything awful was happening to me. And he immediately sent me into a neurosurgeon. When I saw the neurosurgeon, he did some tests on me, had me do some walking, and then he had me sit down. He said that there are certain things that the MRI that I'm looking at about your discs in your back, it completely explains. But your lack of balance shouldn't have anything to do with the discs in your lower back. And it was okay. And he had me do another MRI to see if there was something additional that was not working right, that would explain why my balance was a problem, and I might need more than just simple lower back surgery. I might need more. The MRI was done on the middle of my spine, no problems. So then I had a CAT scan done. The CAT scan said that there were parts of my cerebellum that were the wrong size. That would explain my problems, but then he referred me to Cleveland Clinic to see a neurologist there. So this is all happening within the first 5 months of 2011. And I was getting a little more scared as we go, because after the CAT scan, then they started testing me for all kinds of cancers, and they tested me for lupus, and I was tested for a couple of other autoimmune diseases. I had a brain MRI done. It was actually done in Toledo, but Cleveland Clinic sent me the prescription to have the brain MRI done. Then I get a call back from the neurologist that I saw in Cleveland, who said, "Have you ever been tested for MS before?" Now, I knew nothing about MS. I knew MS stood for multiple sclerosis. That's it. That was everything I knew. And so I'm sitting there, multiple sclerosis. Okay, my mother died of arterial sclerosis. My primary care doctor had a brother with multiple sclerosis, and I have the results of every test sent to my primary care physician or caregiver, so that there's one person who has everything, and one medical professional I trust, who has a copy of every file. And he looked at it and he said, "I'm not a neurologist and I'm not qualified to diagnose you, but looking at the MRI, when you talk to the neurologist, I think you're going to find out that you've got MS." My husband was with me for that meeting with the doctor, and I was really quiet, which is very unlike me. But I was really quiet after that, because all I'm thinking is, Mom got 5 years was given 5 years to live for arterial sclerosis, and whatever sclerosis is, I've got multiple of them. So are they going to tell me I've got a year, 2 years? Golly, I hope it's at least 2 years. And the things going through my mind are, I had a wonderful 40th birthday, and I'm 45 years old, and I may not make it to 50. And I was scared beyond all belief. And it was 2 days before I finally looked up MS on the computer to find out exactly what it is. One of the things I found out is that sclerosis is the, I think, Latin word for scars. Arterial sclerosis, hardening, or used to be hardening of the arteries. It means scars in the arteries. I've also since found out from other medical professionals that it's all one word. It's not even 2 words. It was an incredible relief to find out that multiple sclerosis was scarring on the myelin, the covering for your nerves. And it scars in several different places on the brain and sometimes the spine. And they don't shorten your lifespan. They change it. They make your life really different. And you have to get used to that. In my opinion, when you are diagnosed with a chronic illness, or terminal illness, because it's the same thing, your mind is going through fear, confusion. What do I tell people? How do I handle this? What's going to change? How long have I got to go? What am I going to do with the time that I've got left? You're not thinking about preparing yourself for anything in your future. And at the time that I'm worried about all of these things, I wasn't worried about other things that are going to change. I've read that I knew I was having problems walking, and it terrified me. For relaxation, I would go to the park and walk for a mile. And the whole relaxing and walking for a mile, and I loved walking. I walked every place that I could. That was going to go away, and that terrified me. That I'm going to lose my ability to walk. But I knew that, and it's something that I had to deal with. That where I lifted heavy objects and I climbed up things to set things up at work, and my career, my future for my career was dwindling. The problems I was having with job interviews at the time had to do with physical abilities that were slowly being taken away from me. I never considered that there would be a time where I would not be able to type. It never dawned on me that I would cease to be able to write. I wrote in my journal almost every night, at least a page, sometimes 5 or 6 pages. And I watched my handwriting getting worse and worse, which is why I switched over to typing my journals. Never imagining that there would be a time that I wouldn't be able to type anymore either. That's something that, because there are so many different kinds of symptoms that go with MS, I wasn't thinking about that at the time. And that's something that I can't stand now. My husband is working at home. He's been working at home for the last 10 months. And it cuts down on my ability to write, because writing has to be done speech to text now. That's the only way that I can write. I can type a few sentences up to a small paragraph, and then my hands can no longer, my fingers can't stay off the keys in the right way that words that I type make any sense. If I'd had somebody when I was diagnosed to prepare me for all of the different kinds of things that can happen, to help me when I was diagnosed, I had money in the bank. I had investments. I had an annuity that would really set me up once I got to Social Security age, plans for a great career that would get me even more money put in the bank, and even better Social Security. And I can tell you that that was 9 years ago. And right now, my bank account is below $600. That's everything that I own. I went from considerably over $150,000 just in investments. to I have no income. Social Security, it would be available at its earliest when I'm 62. I'm 54, and it works out to like $50 a year. I have read in a couple of different places that the average person with MS will spend over $1 million on the disease in their lifetime. Now that may include insurance and that sort of thing. And if you're eligible for disability, then you've got Medicare, and that helps. I've reached the point where I have from Cleveland Clinic Physical Therapy paperwork that says, no, I can't work. Because, when you can't even type in a few things without dragging your fingers all over the place, you can't even do answering the phone or troubleshooting. And I could have applied for disability probably while I was not able to get a job because of MS problems and just things that in job interviews were keeping me from being able to work. I would have been eligible for disability then. But don't believe anything that you hear on social media. I had heard so many things about people on welfare that have nice cars, and people that are collecting food stamps that are eating lobsters, and people that are collecting disability that are completely capable, or disability that have plenty of money and shouldn't be taking money from the government. A social worker, when I was diagnosed, would have told me that I'm eligible for disability, that how much money I've got in the bank doesn't matter if I have put in the time and I've been paying money into taxes and I'm no longer able to work. I'm eligible for disability. From the day you're diagnosed as not able to work, you are eligible as long as you paid into the system. Now, I've worked since I was 16 years old, and I've been paying into the system, but because I waited until I was broke, because I listened to people who are frankly lying, I'm not eligible anymore. I am going to talk to a disability attorney and see if there's something, some way that I can become eligible, because I'm sort of at a point now where there's a waiver program in Ohio that would even allow me to get aides to assist me that I wouldn't have to pay for if I was on Medicare, or if I was disabled and collecting disability, but I can't. So I'm going to be trying to see if there's something that can be fixed about that. I'm generally a person that loves giving gifts, and I'm not going to be able to do that when I only have $50 a year that I can spend for the next 8 years before I can collect Social Security. And that's pretty sad and kind of, I don't know, pathetic. Or it makes me feel pathetic. And these are things that didn't have to happen. The ability to not be able to shower alone was something that I never considered. And that I would not even be able to stand up long enough to move from the chair to the wheelchair, or the bed to the wheelchair. These are things that hurt my ego something incredibly bad. that I was absolutely not prepared for. That case manager or a social worker at that time when I was diagnosed could prepare me for this is what's going on in the future and things that you need to be prepared for. These are resources that can help you now, that you'll want to help you in the future. And I had no idea. And I'm just finding them out now because I ended up waiting until I needed them and didn't know they were there at the time. So it's definitely my opinion that when you are diagnosed, you should automatically be given a social worker or a case manager to work with you. Welcome to my cyber coffee shop, by the way. The coffee for today is Starbucks Via pumpkin spice coffee, and it's in my TBS sports mug, which it actually kind of fits with what we're talking about today, because one of the things with MS and MS diagnosis is diminished potential. That is someplace that I would have loved to have worked. Diminished potential is things that you plan, things that you wanted to do with your life that you can no longer do because of the disease. And I kind of understood that, but that goes back to a social worker might have explained it to me better. I've always been sort of a control freak, and when control was taken away from me, that was one of the worst things in the world. And if I had somebody that could help me, a social worker, to show me where things are, to suggest, hey, talk to a therapist, that would have been fantastic. And it would have been helpful. But there wasn't somebody there to make those suggestions. I've had to spend the last 9 years figuring them out myself. And I feel good that I've figured out some of them. I feel awful that it's too late for some of the things that I need. And I think everybody who is in that position of any chronic illness, or even if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness, to make those last years of your life not deeply depressed ones, but giving you some of that control back, and giving you a reason to smile every day. That's not easy. Even if it's just a chronic illness and something where things get worse every day and it's there for the rest of your life, to help you figure out how to cope better. And that's something that doesn't start after you've gone into depression from having the illness, or something that happens after you're flat broke, or something that happens after you've lost another one of your abilities. It's something that there should be someone there to help right from the beginning. And I don't think when you've been diagnosed, it's your responsibility to say, okay, I need to find this person to help and this person to help. Your responsibility is to cope with the diagnosis you've been given. And at some point, there should automatically be a system that says somebody who's diagnosed with this type of disease should automatically be assigned a social worker to work with them. It's something that should be automatic, and it's not, and it hurts me for everybody in my position that it's not an automatic thing. It hurts me that it wasn't there for me, and I really think it should be. But to anybody who's watching who's newly diagnosed. Talk to a therapist. Talk to your doctor who diagnosed you and say, can you set me up with a case manager, somebody who can prepare me for what's to come? Because if they're not doing it automatically, then we really need to get out there and do it for ourselves. And it's sad that we have to add that to a plate that's so full when you've been first diagnosed with something so devastating as something that will be there the rest of your life. Whether the rest of your life is as it will normally be, or whether the rest of your life is going to be shorter than you planned. It should be an automatic given that you have somebody that helps you get through initially what's going on so that you're ready for the long haul. And that's where I'm going to stop today. It's a lot of information and a lot to think of, but if you or someone that you care about it is not seeing a therapist, if they're newly diagnosed and they don't have a case manager that's working with them on getting you ready for the future with what you've been diagnosed with, if it's somebody that you love, or if you have been diagnosed with a terminal illness, make what time you've got left the best that it can possibly be by seeking the social services and therapists and people who can help you smile to your last day, however far away that last day is. As usual, if you identify with what you've heard, like what you've seen otherwise, please subscribe. That helps part of my therapy. When I see that number go up and I know that I'm reaching out to more people. Because if we all reach out to each other and hold each other's hands, or with coronavirus, put on gloves and hold each other's hands, that helps us all. So until next week, we debut every Friday at 8 in the morning, and it is debut. I'm there and I'll talk with you if you're watching. Otherwise, please watch. Feel free to leave comments. I love reading comments, and I do respond to every comment that I get. Or send me an email at chroniclesofnani@gmail.com, and I'll also answer any email you send me. So until next week, have a great week, and be strong, and do whatever you can to be as happy as often as you can.